Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Working in Hockey podcast. I'm your host, Nick Bowins, and today I'm super excited to be joined by Aaron Logan, the owner of Logan Sports Group and Heritage Stick Company. Aaron, thanks for joining. How you doing here today?
Nice to see you, Nick. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I think first and foremost, I want to get into here is, tell me what it is you guys do. I think we've seen the sticks everywhere. I've been following along, but for our listeners at home, what is it the Logan Sports Group and the Heritage Stick Company do?
We bring milestones to life is really kind of the gist of it. We like to engage fans to see and be part of major milestones around Major League Baseball, the National Hockey League, AHL, CHL, NCAA. Really, anywhere where a player or a management style, anybody is celebrating something of historical significance, we want to be part of it. That might be a silver stick that's given out for 1,000 games, or it could be a gold stick that's given out for 500 goals or 1,000 points. It can be really anything from statues and one-off kind of creations to welcome home from the World Junior pucks and boxes. We like to be involved in a little bit of everything.
That's awesome, and, I'm sure, now that you say that, everybody's like, "Oh, I've seen a lot of those sticks, been to a game where one of those was handed out." You mentioned the one-off things. I wanna keep it a little topical here because this one was recent, but Joe Bowen, the golden microphone, how cool was that getting to work with him, the Leafs, to make something that's probably not your normal or typical item there, but gets to commemorate, a great person in the game?
You know, I grew up in Sudbury, Ontario, and Joe is from Sudbury. My first job in sports, coming out of broadcast journalism school, was working with the Sudbury Wolves doing radio a few years after Joe had left, and he'd gotten his start and then left to go to the Maple Leafs. I've gotten to know Joe for 25 years. Being able to be involved in now his last season with the Maple Leafs was something special, and then just working with the Maple Leafs always is a joy. Their marketing team, their PR team, always great to work with and create special one-offs for these milestones. But definitely seeing Joe and how happy he was getting that custom microphone was very special, and something that this isn't something we pull off the shelf. These are all handmade. They take roughly 40 hours to machine, polish, engrave, kind of really work from top to bottom. And with the with that one for the Maple Leafs, knowing that he was from Sudbury, we kind of included some little secret kind of things for him, for his kids, some initials, his love of Notre Dame football, and also the microphone handle is in the shape of the super stack, which is the famous smokestack in Sudbury for Inkle Mines.
That's awesome. No, that was such a cool, commemorative piece, and again, something that, you can't buy off the shelf, you can't find at the store. That's a personal craftsman touch there. But take me all the way back here, I guess, Aaron. What led you to kinda starting this business, this endeavor? How did you first get started, and, how did you kinda get the ball rolling there?
I think I'm a lot like all of your listeners. All your subscribers are all trying to find that niche and find their way in the sports world. I was that, geez, I'm going to say it out loud here. I was that young boy, growing up, looking at hockey cards, reading stats books, just falling in love with the games, all the games. And I wanted to find a way, a small kid from a kid from a small town. How do I get involved in that without maybe having the skill to be performing on the ice or on the fields? And what I did was I went away to broadcast journalism school at Fanshawe College,
Yeah.
took that experience, started working in radio and doing some color commentary, some hosting duties for the London Knights and the Sudbury Wolves, and then decided, you know what, I got to switch it up a little bit. I got to, change and figure out a different route to get into more of the front office. Went back to school at Durham College for sports administration. And coming out of there, I had a job offer from Club Link, Golf World, trying to change it up a little bit. And I had no interest in golf, didn't play golf, but it was a perfect opportunity for me to kind of learn how to sell. And it was all the private golf memberships. We owned 22 golf courses at that time, and it was a way to get in to meet the who's who in the sports world as well as the business world here in Canada. In 2005. I bought a company out of bankruptcy that was a hockey stick manufacturer, and they were making wood on ice sticks. And as the game was changing from an on ice product that was made of wood to composites, I needed to kind of figure out a way to keep this factory going. So we decided to make straight blade, no fiberglass signature sticks. And these sticks were then kind of picked up by all the NHL teams and CHL teams as a way to have a low cost, high perceived value item. Team would sign that stick. You're still looking at the 250 to $300 value at a charity auction or a fundraising item. And then, as that kind of business grew up, we started doing the 3 stars of the game sticks, and we started kind of having all the NHL teams go, "Hey, that's a great idea," and kind of incorporating that so their fans would stick around at end of games and wait for those players to come out and the potential to catch one of those sticks. So that was a really cool, transition from, just making a promotional stick to now going to NHL arenas and seeing our product everywhere being used. I was like, "Hey, this is gonna work. This might be something that we're gonna do."
That's super cool. Was that the first kinda turning point where you were like, "Hey, there's something here"? Was there one big order or sale that you were like, "Okay, there might be something to this?"
Yeah, Anaheim Ducks, 2007, they placed an order. It was like 1,200 wood sticks.
Wow.
We were still kinda getting our feet wet. We were doing some golf tournaments. We were doing some special events.
Yeah.
And, that was a big one, and then Tampa and Florida. A lot of the non-traditional markets were looking
Interesting.
for items to give out in their community, to grow their fan base, and it really started kinda catching on. Like, I remember going down to Anaheim at that time, going into local, bars and restaurants and seeing our product hanging on the wall beside baseball jerseys and football jerseys and going, "Hey, you know, they like us. They like this product." So we kept on kind of pushing that, and on our best years of doing wood sticks, we were doing 45, 50,000 wood sticks a year just in North America. So, we had 130, 140 teams buying sticks. That's changing in the last couple of years. We're starting to see after 21 years, teams are going, "Hey, we want to try something different." We're seeing a lot of stuffed animals. Not, we don't make those, but I love the idea. I love what Seattle does with the salmon. I love Minnesota, the Wild do a pickerel, a walleye fish. I've been seeing it. Detroit gives out sometimes an octopus. So there's some really cool stuff happening. But to think that maybe we're the start of the 3 stars, and that we were kind of helping them get a little start on giving something to the fans at the end of the game.
Yeah, I mean, that's super interesting. Like you said, it's always evolving. The game on the ice, the game off the ice, it's all always changing and evolving. But you touched on kind of the non-traditional markets being interested there early. What would you sort of attribute that to? And when did some of the bigger markets, the Toronto, the New York, Montreal, maybe start to take notice of, all right, these sticks are everywhere?
I think it really comes down to finances. Toronto has been a great supporter of ours for uh, geez, it's been 20 years that they've bought the sticks and used them. But where it really started with the New York Rangers, they were buying sticks because they saw value. They could get 5 sticks for every 1 jersey.
Right.
So, at the end of the day, they can get that many more donations out and spread the New York Ranger name. And that's kind of with the non-traditional, and I hate to say that because I think now it's such a, great vast league that every team is doing so well in their marketplace. When Vancouver was, coming out of the Olympics and also out of, going to the Stanley Cup final, they were using so many of our sticks and they were loving it because, again, they weren't having to buy as many jerseys, that when you autograph it, there's another additional cost to get it framed and put it up on a wall, where a stick, you can throw it on a wall or put it in a corner and show it off that way. So our product's done really well that way.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I think also with jerseys, I mean, you touched on 20 plus years they've been buying the similar wooden sticks with jerseys. Lately, they're changing every couple years, right? The manufacturer, the provider, where the stripe is. We're making new third jerseys and alternates every year. It's a lot of sunk costs into different jerseys and branding that everybody wants to have the most current or frequent one. A stick's a little bit easier to longevity there, I'm sure.
And we do change up the designs. I mean,
Yeah,
every year the teams are getting new branding on all the sticks. A lot of the CHL teams, we taught them how to create a program around the sticks that they could go to their local sponsor and say, "Hey, why don't you get involved?" The Peterborough Petes have a great local sponsor in Harvey's that throws their branding on the sticks. So that sells the 3 stars of the game promo. Then they also have other sticks without that branding on it that they'll use in their community or in their retail store. So there's really a number of different uses, and it could be from hardest worker of the game to birthday party gifting, season seat holder, renewal gifting. There's all kinds of different ways that teams are using the stick now, rather than just in the beginning when it was autographing them and just giving them away. They're utilizing them much more.
That's very cool, and that's, we talk mostly there about the wooden sticks, the 3 stars for signatures. When did the silver, the gold, the, kinda memorabilia sticks for player accomplishments and awards sorta take off for you guys?
I got a phone call in 2009. It's been a long time now from Jim Gregory with the NHL, and he was like,
Mhm.
"Aaron, love your sticks, see them everywhere. Can you make me a silver stick?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure. We can paint them any color you want." He goes, "No, I need a silver stick made out of metal." So we kind of did a little bit of digging and tried to figure it out how to do it. And it was fairly easy once we thought. Once we started digging into it. Now, working with stainless steel polished gives you that silver look.
Mhm.
Working with bronze polished gives you that gold look. So there's never any question if it's actual silver or gold. We use those words, but a little bit of a disclaimer there that at the price of gold today, these teams are not giving them $1 million stick. So, but no, we started then. We started making it for the players hitting 1,000 game milestones, and even 15 years ago, it wasn't as prevalent as it is now that you're seeing kind of players, extend their careers by the conditioning that they're in.
Yep.
Also the need by a lot of teams, salary caps. There, there's a desire to keep a player that can still perform at a level they need to be at. So on average, or I'd say over the last 5 years, we're seeing 20 to 25 players reach that 1,000 game milestone. Few this year that were very close, but now with injuries, they'll miss out and hopefully kind of catch up next year. And then on the 500 goals, 1,000 points, and then other milestones, team records. You also have those that teams now want to celebrate. They find that it's most teams are finding that it's important to showcase these things to the fans. They make it a whole evening. They've got everybody involved, from game ops to senior managers, and the players love it. They get to include their families. They get to, feel that recognition as well from the fans.
No, I think that's awesome, and I've been lucky enough to be at some of those games where they're handing out the player milestone sticks, and obviously very cool to see again 1,000 games, 500 goals, those sorts of things. But one I want to ask you about in particular, Aaron, pretty notable in the hockey world the last couple of years, Mr. Alexander Ovechkin setting the all-time goal record. That's one that you can't really forecast like you maybe can with 1,000 games or something. Talk us through from your business's side the great chase and what that kind of process was like for you guys.
You gave me goosebumps. I think I have to back up a little bit with him. The Washington Capitals, to me, are just they're a perfect organization the way they run from top to bottom. It's ownership down. They have a kind of a level of excellence that they want to meet. Their players are expected to be that way. Their staff's all expected to be that way. And for everybody I've ever worked with the Capitals, they're top notch. Just and I'll give them all kinds of praise because they really are the best. With Alex, we've worked with the Capitals for a number of years, from wood sticks, providing them to their community relations departments, to sponsor events that Alex would sign sticks for, local banks and stuff. So we've always had a little bit of a relationship with the Capitals and kind of Alex. He hit 500 goals, 1,000 games, 1,000 points, onward, onward, onward. And then it gets to last year, we've created, I think, 9 different items for him, 9 or 10. And it gets to last year, and Sergey with the Capitals reaches out and says, "Listen, we'd like to do something spectacular for this. Let's, look at what we can do." So we did a 895 gold stick, and it was, an item that was presented to him on the next home game after he had hit the milestone on the island, and it was amazing. It was beautiful to see him be recognized and follow his career, and know that like a lot of our products that we've made for him now will hopefully end up in a museum that he wants to open up someday. That's his goal, is to bring all that stuff back to his homeland and open up a Alex Ovechkin museum.
That's so cool. I've got goosebumps too. Like you said, I was lucky enough to be at the game on Long Island when he scored that. Happened to be filming. at the exact right time, recorded my own video of him scoring. That'll live with me forever. But more so, like you said, I was at the game in Washington where they got to honor him. My wife's family's from there, so I took the bus up, got some tickets from the Capitals, and was sure to be there for the celebration. And kind of like you teased before, like that's what I remember more. I remember the Capitals fans in DC chanting as he gets presented that stick, all his teammates coming up to him and his wife and kids with flowers, like those memorabilia moments, those celebrations, those get remembered more than the score, the game, or those other things sometimes, right?
I think that as sports fans, we always look for a milestone. What I was there when, and it could be just a Saturday night or a Tuesday night where a comeback win. That's a milestone in all of our minds. But it also can be when a player hits a milestone. For me, I remember watching Matt Sundin score his 500th goal, 499 and 500 in overtime, against Calgary Flames. To me, I was in the rink, I was seeing it, I was watching it, and I was very like involved in it because I wanted to see it that night. I can also remember being in Detroit, hoping to see Miguel Cabrera hit his 3,000th hit, getting a rain delay. I go to the next afternoon's Red Wings game, getting updates on my phone that he just got a hit, and I've got tickets for the evening doubleheader. So it's like you want to be part of milestones. They're important to all of us. And now having this period in my company where we're being called upon and we're being asked, and I'm reaching out to people. I've got a number of irons in the fire for this summer, Major League Baseball wise, for retiring numbers, for players going in the Baseball Hall of Fame, for broadcasters retiring. These are important things that sometimes I don't think Major League Baseball has celebrated them with enough ceremonial kind of gifting and things. The one thing Major League Baseball has going for it is everything they use, from bat to ball to jersey to hats, cleats, is all memorabilia.
Yeah.
Where the NHL has always kind of embraced this, and even the NFL, I've done a few pieces for the NFL. They've always embraced these unique one-off gifting pieces.
Sure. Yeah, that's interesting. And you touch on kind of all the different sports that you've worked with there. You spent time Club Link and working in some different sports there. Why hockey initially? I know you mentioned buying kind of the bankrupt hockey stick business there. What was the pull to hockey? Was hockey always the number one passion where you wanted to end up? And how has it grown into these other sports?
So my dad was a hockey coach in minor hockey up in the Sudbury area, and for me growing up, it was I can hear the click of that of the passenger door closing as I would get in every day. The ride to the rink, the talk about the game, listening, learning. It's just the problem was when I got on the ice, I couldn't do it at the level that, some of the other kids were doing it. I always wanted to be that player. I understood the game, but physically just wasn't able to get it done. So I was like at a young age, I was like, okay, I gotta figure out a way. If I want to be around this and this is gonna be my career, how do I do it? So I thought, well, I'll just talk about it, learn as much as I can and talk about it. Went to broadcast journalism school, loved it. Still, wish I would have maybe continued, but I'm happy with the path I created. Then you keep evolving. You keep okay, gather some information, move it on to another opportunity, and you keep going forward. And that's kind of where, for me as a young kid, loving the game, loving broadcasters and how they brought the information to us through TV and through radio and newsprint. Now it's so much different. There's so many more ways to get all the information, but I wanted to find a way to make that my career, and there was nothing else. Like, I did not want to do anything else ever. And I've often said this to people. I'm like, when the pandemic hit and everything stopped, I was like, uh-oh, I might have to go get a real job. This might be the time when I have to go do something instead of, do the thing I love, which doesn't feel like work a lot of the time. No, it's 24/7. I'll answer my phone anytime. I will jump on a plane last minute to make sure an item gets to a ceremony. I think you and I were talking about this. I was in Columbus last week during that massive snowstorm, drove the stick down in the whiteout snowstorm, spun out on the interstate twice. It got there, and then the game was postponed, but it got there, and that's important to me because these milestones and this history is important.
Yeah. No, I think that's very well said, and your passion for it is evident, and, like you said, carving your own path, you have to have that passion. You have to have that little bit of crazy to make sure those things get across the finish line because nobody else is gonna do it for you when you're carving your own path, and, that's what you guys have done so well in building this business. Tell me a little bit about the business overall there today. How many, people, how many hands on deck, making this all happen for you guys?
We're a pretty small company. There's 6 of us in total.
Yep.
We kind of do a little bit of everything. I don't want I guess the scope of us is a lot of times when we get a phone call on a Thursday night or a text message on a Thursday that a team needs something for Saturday, we're small enough that we can make it happen in a very short turnaround time. Now, I'd love 2 to 3 weeks. I'd love 4 weeks notice, but that doesn't always happen, especially when you're chasing milestones. Um, so for us 6, it's important that we all have a specialty. I've got a polisher that is one of the best in the world, I believe. He does amazing work in a very short period of time. We have a fabricator that can take an idea and turn it into something beautiful creation. I do sales and marketing and kind of run the day to day and make sure all the calls are made and reaching out to team after team. There's a lot of teams that I think that, when they see my text or they see my email, they go, "Oh my God, leave me alone today." But I think they're appreciative too that I'm staying on top of it and that at the end of the day, they can feel, some relief that if it's in my hands, it will get done and it'll get done at the highest level. We have a saying when we walk into in our shop, it's, you know, that's good enough is not good enough for us. We don't believe in that. It has to be the best. We're working with the best athletes in the world. We're working with the best leagues in the world that we want it to be the best quality and the best for these players.
I couldn't agree more, and I think conversation for a later day, but more than ever today, people want to know that they're dealing with you and with your team, and it's not a chat bot or automated response or otherwise, right? Even if you're bugging them a little late or a little early in the day, they like knowing that it's Aaron on the other line, and things are going to get done. And again, from a distance as a fan of what you guys have built, Aaron, awesome to get to chat with you here and hear a little bit more about the story, how it all originated, and obviously the level that it's grown to today. The last thing that I always ask here on the Working in Hockey podcast is if you could give one piece of advice to somebody looking to break into the hockey industry, regardless of the role, what would that be, Aaron?
Be persistent, knock down the doors. Don't take a no for a no. It's if you believe in yourself that you can continue to, progress and get better and you want to make this your career, don't ever listen to somebody else. Make it your career.
That's awesome. That's perfect advice, and that is something that you did yourself. So I very much appreciate the time here today, Aaron. Again, big fan of what you guys have built. Everybody, be sure to check them out on socials, online. Maybe get your coach a thank you, Coach Stick, this as this season wraps up. But Aaron, thanks so much for the time.
Thanks, Nick.